give it a little. Ladies and gentlemen, in my house today, the one and only John, the Milkman Mielke. How are you, man?
Things are good. I'm looking around. I mean, Henry Burris has been here.
Yeah.
Stu's been here. Chris Phillips has been here. Mike Ward has been here. What the hell am I doing here?
Yeah, oh, well, you're here to take some pictures in my living room, aren't you?
Yeah. do a little real estate gig on the side, which I actually do. But
yeah, I was. It's been raining like crazy for 24 hours, and we have a giant moat in front of our house. And I was going, oh, I hope he doesn't come with a little tiny car because we're gonna have to be rescuing him from the moat. But giant blast the radio truck pulls in the driveway, parts the seas. I think you flooded the neighbor's house.
I wanted to bring the boat. Had I known, I would have brought the boat. I would have called Hearst Marina. I need that out of storage. I'm going to have that in place. And I just see Jim Watson's been here too.
Jim Watson, yeah. There's lots of who we got. Sarah Freemark was here. Dylan Black, very handsome Dylan Black. Tim Baines.
Dylan signs his name like he's Kiss or something.
Yeah, that is a cool. It does look like
cool
it should be on a poster for sure. That's Tim Tierney. You can't tell what it says.
Oh, right on.
Stuntman Stu, Sebastien Bourgault, Liam McGuire,
Nice.
Mike McDonald, right there.
Really?
Yeah, Glenn Foster,
So it is.
that Canadian guy. Sometimes some people they sign it and you can't see what it says, but they write their name. And so I've started, if I can't read the name, then I write their name too, because I would have no idea what.
I kind of want to, if I get the honor of doing this, I kind of want to do like I did in high school and just carve my name in.
You should. I could. Yeah, we can do that.
John
You get the honor. I just came from Loblaws to get a new marker.
Wow.
I just went and got 4 brand new Sharpie markers.
The authentic Loblaws Sharpie.
Yeah. Yeah, it was and I got you a kombucha. I don't know if you drink that. Kombucha, water, coffee. It's completely up to you.
Hibiscus and rose hips.
Yeah.
You had me at hello.
You have rose hips. I've heard your hips is described as rose hips.
That's supposed to be. We can edit that, right?
Yeah. There's absolutely no editing. That would require way too much time and skill.
That's great. I look forward to that. Thank you.
For sure. So we had Derek Fage was here.
Yes, my friend Derek.
Yes, and he mentioned you as an important part of his childhood and his development in a positive way. He said he was at a really tough time in his life, and he was walking to school, and he met this nice little boy who was the only one who was friendly to him, and it was you.
You know, it's interesting because I only heard that story from Derek a few years ago. Mm-hmm. He had posted on Facebook and tagged me on it, and I was blown away that, I mean, I was just a guy who lived in the same neighborhood as Derek Fage, and I would occasionally meet up with him walking to and from school, and I'd walk to and from school with a guy because I thought he was a cool kid.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the conversations with him. I had no idea. I mean, I knew that this was a kid who was bullied in school constantly. I knew that. I knew why. We know now why.
Yeah.
He's told the story, and I'll let him tell that story. But ruthlessly bullied, and I could never figure it out because he was such a nice guy.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that he'd meet up with me and feel, oh, thank God, John Mielke's walking me to and from school. Not like I'm a big kid, not like I was a bully. I was bullied. Mm-hmm. I certainly had my fair share of kids beating me up. But what a remarkable thing that on that odd occasion that I would walk to and from school, and there were tons of kids in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
That he
what neighborhood is it?
So we grew up in Arlington Woods.
Okay.
So Greenbank, Knoxdale area. Mm-hmm. What's interesting? If you walk down the way we'd go home from school, so the first house, Gabe Carlin, who was the general sales manager for Shea, lived there. Next door to him was the Muse family. They own Myers. Mm-hmm. Next door to them was Mike Copeland, who started Mitel and Corral.
Sounds like a very rich neighborhood.
And then down the road, there's Derek Fage's place. Around the corner from him was Jack Darrowan, who was a legend at CFRA. Went on to become CFRA, CFMO, Magic, TSN 1200's sales manager. You'd eventually get to my street. Jim Kane, former Ottawa Rough Rider. His daughter used to babysit us.
I met him. I met him a couple of months ago at the Ottawa's Amazing People Gala.
There you go.
Didn't I? Did I? He's still around?
I think he is.
I think so. I think that's who I sat with.
Yeah, I mean, he'd be up in years.
Yeah, he was elderly, for sure, but still in good spirits and good health.
But I had a Rough Rider playing,
Wow.
He was on my street.
Yeah.
A couple doors up from him was Kim Brunhuber, who does, CBC's, hosted the National.
Right. That's he's a young guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I babysat him.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Wow.
I babysat him once because we went down to the garage to get something, and the door locked behind us, and I never got to babysit them
You
again.
didn't get your
No.
certificate or your certification.
And the other, just a little name that grew up in our neighborhood, Sandra Oh.
Okay, yeah. Is that the comedian or the broadcaster?
No, the actress.
The actress, okay. Yeah.
Grey's Anatomy.
Grey's Anatomy, Sandra. Oh, okay.
So it was quite the little neighborhood. But yeah, no, I was really taken back that Derek had said that about me. He was just like I said, he was just a fun kid to be around. We knew him as Ricky Phage.
Really? He still is a fun kid to be around.
He is a fun kid to be around.
So for people who don't know, he has he can't control. I mean, I obviously don't know the medical condition, but he can't control when he goes poop, right?
Yeah.
And so it just happens. And for years he was something he had to hide, and now he's the king of the poop world. Like he even has a title now, right?
The
like,
face of feces.
The face of feces, and he's embraced it, and he's been a huge motivation and inspiration.
Magnificent.
And he is magnificent.
He is. No, and it was. I mean, that's why I'm here today. I guess is that you or he or both tagged me. As part of that conversation, and I was again very humbled that Derek would tell that story. Then he went on to talk about his friend Gary Fields, who he lived with.
Right.
Well, Gary and I were, like in high school, we would hang out. I had no idea that he even knew Derek Phage. So the world is just really, really small. Yeah. And to talk to Gary, all these years later, and say, man, I had no idea you were looking out for Ricky like that. Oh yeah,
Ricky, I've never heard that called before. Ricky,
I got to wrap my head around calling him Derek still
really?
to this day. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Ricky. Ricky comes to Yuck Yucks all the time.
Does he?
Yeah, he's been there at least 3 or 4 times since he's been on this podcast.
Right on.
Yeah, I have a Friday night show there every Friday night at 7 p.m. and he's been there I think 3 times. He's been another time as well.
So he spends his weeks in Montreal, but his weekends are back home with his wife is here and his kids are here and his family's here. So that's good.
Yeah. So you grew up. How old are you? Your late 40s?
I turned 49 on Friday.
Oh, happy birthday!
Thank you so much.
49 on Friday. Wow. Well, so that's 60.
1969.
69.
Yeah.
Summer of 69. Oh my gosh, I was 70. I'm like 48. I always forget how old I am too. That's unbelievable. So Arlington Woods area with in this neighborhood full of people to look up
Celebrity
to.
Row.
Celebrity Row. Yeah, for sure. And brothers and sisters.
I'm the oldest of 4. Yeah,
4 brothers.
I've got okay. So here we go. The story of John. I'm the oldest of 4. I've got a sister who is estranged herself, and I've got 2 younger brothers.
A sister who's a stranger.
She no longer wants to be part of Milky Land.
Oh, just you or the whole family?
Nope, the whole family.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, she was adopted. I was adopted. My 2 younger brothers are natural born to the Milkies. And several years ago, I never wanted to meet them, but it sort of came out of nowhere, meeting my biological family.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, my family now goes on and on. Christmas is fun. Yeah. I got my family, I got my in-laws, and now I've got
we just get everybody Ancestry.com.
I think I would probably melt their computer servers if I were to go on there.
How does that work? Like a couple years ago, you said? So you're 47.
So actually, it was longer than that. The story actually goes that because I never acknowledged my birthday on the air.
Okay.
Because I didn't know who was listening, and I was a perfectly happy kid. Like I said, I grew up in Arlington Woods, surrounded by phenomenal neighbors. I had every opportunity in life. What more could I have wanted? And I recognized that, and I knew that. And I just had really great parents and a really loving family. So I didn't have a want or a need for anything else.
And you always knew you were adopted.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. And
your parents are black.
No. We can confirm. No. So yeah, we kept my birthday off the air and things like that, just in case, just wanted to avoid any potential. And so after Cool flipped to Bob FM, we had a listener named Linda who would call in quite a bit, worked at a real estate office, and I would mention to her, oh, by the way, on the side I do a little bit of real estate photography and headshots and stuff, so if you've ever got any, okay, great. And she'd win the occasional, prize, a couple of bucks here and there, and, big screen TVs and things. And she just really enjoyed the show. Then along came Facebook. She became my Facebook friend. I became her Facebook friend. She didn't know. I didn't know. And it wasn't until my 39th birthday, so we're going back 10 years now, that she wished me happy birthday. And people who did know me were saying, hey, happy birthday. 1 more year till the big one. So her family kind of clued into the fact that, geez, February 16th, 1969. Take a look at this guy. take a real hard look at this guy. And it didn't take long for them to do a little digging and find the eyebrows were the dead giveaway. If you see their grandfather on my mom's side.
Tom Selleck.
Dead giveaway, yeah. And he actually played for the Rough Riders.
Okay, hold on a second.
A game or so.
Well, first of all, this Linda? Who is Linda?
So right. I never connected that dot. So it turns out this listener, Linda, is my half-sister.
No, that's crazy.
Listened to the show for years and years and years, oblivious to the fact that I was her half-brother.
And you're dishing her out TVs and concert tickets.
When all hell broke loose, and I found out who they were, because I'd been friends with this Linda person for a long time, I had a bit of a freak out. The boss said, "Look, take a couple of days, clear your head, come back." And the day that I'm driving back into the radio station after processing all this and confirming that indeed this was my biological family, we'd been giving away a big screen TV a week. And I'm driving in. I'm about 3 minutes from the station, and this week's winner of the TV is Linda. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
No,
I go into the boss's office. I said, look, family can't win, right? So she's got to make a decision. Ha, 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 ha. Oh, nice to see your sense of humor. Get back on the air. But yeah, it was a lot of years of me not really wanting anything to do with it.
But that's how you found out?
That's how I found out.
Wow. And she lived close proximity to...
So there is one stop sign and a red light between her house and mine.
No, so you crossed paths
Her daughter
many times.
Her daughter was my favorite farm boy cashier for years.
That's unbelievable.
And after I told them, please leave me alone and give me my privacy, I'd walk into Farm Boy. I had no idea who her daughter was.
Yeah.
And there's her daughter, like, unfortunately, I'd come to the cash, hi, how are you? How's your day? Da-da-da-da-da. And this poor girl's having panic attacks after I leave. I'm not supposed to be talking to that guy.
No.
So, yeah.
That is so crazy.
Yeah. But,
wow.
Yeah, we live, like, I mean... It's wonderful. It's wonderful knowing her now because, well, for a lot of reasons, but also because we can get into steaks at 11 o'clock, which involves some Jack Daniels and things, and I can actually crawl home from there. So it's worked out.
So you hang out with her now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, hang out with the
amazing.
whole family. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's a really great story, man.
Yeah, like I said,
that.
Christmas gets to be a little bit of a zoo because I've got to balance, in-laws, the Mielke family, and that side of me, and
wow,
yeah,
that's a great story. And Tom Selleck played for the Rough Riders?
So my grandfather, on my maternal grandfather biologically, I can't find him in any game day programs or anything, but there are pictures of him wearing his Rough Rider jersey.
Like my career, but there are pictures of him in
his Rough Rider jersey. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the eyebrows it's undeniable.
Oh, sorry. Are we talking about? You're talking about Tom Selleck?
No, I'm talking about my grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather played for the Rough
called
Riders.
Tom Selleck.
Okay. That's way different. Yeah, I was picturing Magnum. I was like, what? I thought he was a volleyball player.
No.
So, but your grandfather played for the Rough Riders.
He apparently played for the Rough Riders for a little bit.
You Googled the name and you came up with.
No, I was told this after I met the biological family.
Oh, okay.
Because they knew of my love of football.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. Cool. I didn't know of your love of football.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great. Oh, awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. This is Dan Marino's wristband when he's got the most yards in a career, right?
Yes,
there.
I saw your podcast a couple of weeks ago where you were telling a story of how you acquired that.
That's right.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
And I love that story too, by the way. Hi, I'm Dan Marino. You apparently made the team.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so bizarre, man. That's I've told it a million times now, but yeah, 10 years to the day of my big brother Bill
That's
passing.
so amazing.
It's
You can't discount that.
no. You can't. That's what people say. And maybe you don't hear the other story. So February 21st, which is tomorrow. Oh my gosh, it's tomorrow.
Wow.
It's his birthday. And so 4 years ago, I was doing the speech that I give talking about my brother. And at the start of the speech, you don't know that he's passed away.
Right.
And so I say, it's my brother's birthday today. And as I said, this is the bottom of the Chimo Hotel. It's a leadership conference, and it's a whole bunch of students from across Canada down there. And I say that, I go, and today is his birthday. And as I say that, I'm staring over to the right side of the room, and a picture like that, like a framed, mounted picture, crashes to the ground.
Come on.
And I get these shivers, and I just stand there. I go, I'm going to tell you guys why that's crazy in a little bit. And I just continue on. And then I get to the point, they find out he passes away and all that stuff, and how crazy it is, the 10 years to the day stuff. And at the end, I'm like, wasn't that crazy? When I said it was his birthday, and the picture fell off the wall, and like the whole front row goes, Mr. Hatfield, pictures on both sides of the room fell off the wall. I look over, and another the same picture on the others. They both crashed to the ground at the same time as I said that today's his birthday. And for people who aren't listening, my brother passed away October 30th, 1985, and then I set a goal to make it to play in the NFL, and it actually all came to fruition October 30th, 1995, 10 years to the day of me making that promise and of him passing away. So there's been so many crazy similarities, crazy things happening like that, and people are like, you know what, to believe there isn't something out there is just ignorant, right? Like, if there was, how else would something send you a message, or how else would the universe tell you you're going in the right direction, or anything like that?
It keeps
right?
us honest, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, it's just so, and most of the time you don't even notice these sort of things, right? Like, I didn't know that it was 10 years to the day when it happened. When I started giving the speech, I got out the documentation, I got out my contract. And I remember looking at the contract, and I went, oh my gosh, this is October 30th, 1980. And then I went, oh my God, that's 10 years. And I went, oh my God, he passed away on October 30th.
Gee.
And then, whoa, that's crazy. And then you start looking deeper into it, and you find all kinds of crazy similarities or coincidences, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, it's mind-blowing when you start picking things apart and looking back on things, right? On things that seemed like they were there to get in the way, but really they were there to push you in the right direction. Which is half the battle when you're going forward, and you're like, oh man, another reason why I need to stop, or I should stop, or the world's telling me to stop, but really it's saying try a different way, right? Yeah.
And this is I'm someone who deals with depression and mental health, and a lot of anxiety, and that's one of the early lessons that I learned was, a lot of times, what seems like a mountain in front of you is actually it's there to challenge you. Mm-hmm. No, it's time for you to run over this mountain. It's time for you to, figure out a way around this, up or over it. Stop looking at it as a challenge. And it really is amazing how many, I think I didn't need my, biological family in my life for a lot of years. And I think the timing was finally right. I'd gone through a nervous breakdown in 2012, and it was sorting through a lot of what caused me to get to that point. I was in a career I loved. Why was I not able to leave the parking lot to get into work? This is the only job I ever wanted to have, and I'm doing it, and why am I afraid to go in there, and what's causing me to sweat and convulse like this? And you start going through things like, well, okay, I know who they are, I know where they live, I know a lot more about them than I thought. It's time for me to, look at this as, either it can control me or I can control it. Mm-hmm. And, the timing of it, it couldn't be a coincidence. I think it was there for me to have when I needed it. Mm-hmm. And I really, really believe that.
Wow. So when you figured out that Linda was your half sister,
yep.
That's when you're starting to have the problems, like the mental health issues? Is that... I'd been having the depression and anxiety for a lot longer than that, and not sort of realizing what it was, and probably didn't have it to the same severity that I ended up having it. 2012 was a bad year. What did it look like before? Like, how did it manifest itself? Like, you're saying in 2012 you were sitting in the parking lot, couldn't go into a job you loved.
Yeah, I'd been having conversations with my doctor about really severe headaches and physical pains that I couldn't explain, and we'd go through stress tests and heart tests and CAT scans and MRIs and blood tests, and everything was checking out fine. I mean, I was heavy, my cholesterol was a little high, but by and large, I was healthy. Things weren't making sense. But I just progressively grew more and more angry and frustrated, and my personality had completely changed. I didn't even recognize how far I had spiraled, and and the things that I was saying and the way I was behaving around people, and it just got to a point of self-loathing and really, what the hell was wrong with me? And it was actually during a Bell Let's Talk Day in 2012.
When did that start? The Bell Let's Talk.
around that time.
I
I
think
want to
so,
say,
yeah.
2010, 2011. I stand to be corrected on that. But that's really the first Bell Let's Talk day that I really remember. But it was all the conversations that I heard on our radio station that day, and that I had heard, on all the other Bell Media radio stations and seen on TV that day. That, everything I was hearing people say. Oh my God, that makes sense. Yes, I can relate to that. Holy smokes, that's an answer I've been looking for. And as the day went on, I remember signing off the show that day with what my boss at the time called some of the most compelling radio he'd ever heard. Keep in mind, this is a guy who kept telling us to, talk less. And I went on for a good 5 minutes about, how this day had affected me, and that I was leaving the station and I was going right to my doctor's. And I did. I went and I waited in his waiting room without an appointment. I said, I need to have a conversation with you. That led me on a path of really sort of trying to sort out and figure out a lot of things in my life. It took me to a real bad place with a suicide attempt, which luckily I screwed up. And it solidified to me the work that I needed to do on myself that I had ignored for so long. I was a kid who was, from my earliest memories, I was going to be on the radio. I ignored high school because how do these courses,
that was a dream from really early on.
How's math going to apply to radio?
Yeah.
Well, of course it does, and I could write chapters about how math applies to radio.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, kids, the metric system is your friend, dealing in hundreds. When you're dealing in radio, it's increments of time in 60-second increments. So the math becomes even more challenging.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah. Little things like that, percentages for Canadian content and whatever else, which, the computers mostly take care of now, but early on they didn't. If you had broadcast news coming in off the satellite and you had to count backwards from the top of the hour to how many minutes of music have I got, how many minutes of commercials have I got, what room does that afford me to talk, because I need to get that boop right at the top of the hour.
Right.
And if you missed it, it sounded awful. And I missed it on, more than a few occasions. Oh, geez, if I had paid more attention in math class. But no, it really brought me to a point of really having to reassess everything that I was saying and doing in my life, and made me recognize that I didn't like who I'd become mostly. And I'm sure you've seen it written and read it places, but depression really turns you into an asshole because you don't recognize yourself. You don't understand what's going on. And I've been lucky because I've yelled and screamed for help, and I've had some amazing people, like Derek Fage, just, send me a note every now and then, like Dylan, hey man, how you doing?
Those are great guys.
Stuntman Stu is, there's a guy who's got his own plate full of stuff.
Yep.
But once in a while he'll just, hey, I've been wondering about you. How you doing? And it's really, as awful as depression is, for me, it's kind of been a blessing because it's given me a purpose. It's given me something to. It's why when the station I was working at, when Bob, flipped to a country format and they let the on-air staff go, it was the reason for me to get up in the morning. These were conversations I was having on social media and on my show that I wasn't prepared to give up. So after a couple of weeks, I went, well, okay, I can have these conversations on internet radio.
Yeah.
So let's just bring the show there. And 3 years later, that show lives on internet radio.
That's amazing. That's a great story.
Focused and built mostly around mental health. But, as I work with more and more great coaches, and more about great coaches than I'll ever know. But coaching is and that's what therapy is. People hear the term therapy and they think in terms of, the psychiatrist is going to lay you down on the couch and just bark a bunch of questions at you and, well, how does this make you feel? And therapy is coaching. It's life coaching. It's somebody who's impartial to, they're not attached to your family. They're not attached to your career. They can just look at you from a completely different perspective and have you considered this and have you considered that? Let's build on this. Let's build on that. Do you hear what you're saying? Those kinds of things that go over and over again on a regular basis. But these people have built me up to a point where now the conversations I have about mental health, I try and speak very positively about it. I have my bad days. I have my awful days. My new rule of thumb, because I've brought my depression and my anxiety into the studio more often than I should have, and it makes me my own worst enemy. it's not fun to listen to. Because when you're working for yourself and you own your own radio station and you're in your own basement, if I want to play an hour of music, Pink Floyd and anything that just, is dark and I can.
Yeah.
That's not fun for the listener, though.
I think an hour of Pink Floyd's fun.
Yeah.
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 But you're
in college, with the right, with the right assistance, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But, you can, and I found myself more often than not getting on bad days, just really taking it out on my audience. So I've chosen the new rule of thumb for me is depression is not allowed in my studio.
Okay.
I've named my depression. His name is Dick.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good name for a depression.
Right.
Yep.
and Dick's just not allowed in my studio.
That's great. It's a great.
If Dick,
is that a metaphor? I don't know if it's a metaphor, but
it's a coping mecanism for me.
Okay. Yeah.
If I give it a name, I personalize it, and then I can call it names, and I can make fun of it or him. I can blame a lot of stuff on Dick. And just the fact that he's called Dick makes me laugh.
A lot of stuff gets blamed on Dick. I guess there's a lot of jokes there. Right? How much of your audience is there for the same reason that you're there?
I think initially most of the audience was there for that. And some still are. And others have latched on to the positive message that comes out of it. I found a real following with people who are trying to get an understanding for depression and anxiety, and are happy that I'm able to articulate it in ways that they haven't necessarily heard before. That suddenly this makes sense to them. Yeah. And I think by and large, people who are tuning in now, what they're really enjoying is I sound like the guy that they listened to 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And somewhere in those 20 years, I really sort of got lost and frustrated and, confused. It's, I didn't really have a purpose. Now I do.
Yeah. Is there any other way, like you say, because I don't know, for good fortune, I don't think I suffer from mental health at all. Maybe I just don't have that intelligence. You know what I mean? Sometimes I think my thinking is not as deep as other people's that take them down that road. And so I ask people all the time who say they suffer from it, like, what do you do? What's the solution? And often people don't know, but I mean, that's the first concrete thing I've ever heard is talk to somebody who's going to be impartial and give you advice and ask you how you're doing. Are there other ways? Because I know a lot of people would probably be at first anyways, hesitant to go and tell someone else that they are suffering from that.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of where campaigns like Let's Talk, etc., have really made their mark. People feel more comfortable to express this now. That said, I encounter it all the time. Listen, there's no such thing. You're making this up. Get over yourself. What do you got to be depressed about? You hear it all the time. And if I'm being honest, I think before 2012, when I was officially diagnosed and things started really making sense, I think I probably looked at mental health as, it's all in your head.
Yeah.
Don't you see how fortunate you are? The talking is paramount. It's one of the most important parts, but that's the first step. Beyond that, you really do have to commit to doing the work. And it's just like if you've got cancer, there's work involved. There's a routine involved. As far as taking your medications are concerned, as far as going for your treatments are concerned, as far as taking care of yourself and your diet. And same with any illness. Mental health is no different. And I think we're still at a stage with this thing where people they take their antidepressant and think, well, that should solve everything, shouldn't it? It doesn't. There's no, there is no happy pill for this. I did a stand-up comedy routine actually at Yuck Yucks. My only twice in my life have I done a stand-up comedy routine. The second time went a lot better than the first time.
You want to do it a third time?
No. I have such great respect for people who do that. Like you, no.
That's what Stuntman Stu said. I asked him.
No.
Sorry to interrupt your story, but I did say because Henry Burris is going to come on and do a set.
I know he was there last
on
week for
Friday.
you.
Yeah, with Mike Ward. Yeah, that's right.
But he didn't get on stage.
No, he came to get a lay of the land.
Okay.
And he's going to be on. We're going to set a date soon. And Derek Fage is going to do a set.
Tough.
And I asked Stuntman Stu, and he was like, immediately said, no, thank you. I respect comedians too much.
It's one thing for us in radio because in our studio, we don't have the benefit of laughter or no laughter. we assume everything we put out into the universe is funny. Which is why, and the minute you're out in front of an audience and it bombs, and my first time doing stand-up was even before I was working at Cool FM, so we're talking early 90s, and I'd been doing some media relations for a charity organization, and one of the consultants said, I run the Dorval Winter Carnival. You're so funny with your impersonations. You got to come and do this comedy thing. And so I worked on a routine, and I got up there, and I think, so Dorval, 91, you think separatism's a thing now, 91, it was even more. The first words out of my mouth, and I was in lime green pants, bright orange shoes, a pink shirt. Hi, I'm going to be funny. It's so nice to be here in Dorval, but boy, I can't wait till your province separates because my drive to the East Coast will be that much shorter.
Nobody.
No, it's 20 some odd years later I got back on stage, and I only did it because I was asked by Yuck Yucks to do a benefit for mental health.
Was that posted online?
Yeah.
I did see that. I totally forgot about that. And it was good. I remember watching it
Thank you.
going, this is going to be terrible. And it was good. And I think that was disheartening for me, who hadn't even started comedy at the time. Like,
oh, really?
Wow. I'm just kidding.
But
do
all this to
remember
say,
it.
I tell a joke in there about, how everybody goes looking, they take this antidepressant pill and they treat it like a happy pill. Like this is what, that there is no happy pill for this.
Yeah.
That's LSD.
Not until July 1st.
That's LSD, which your doctor's not going to prescribe to you, right? No, depression, it requires a lot of work. It requires a big adjustment in your lifestyle. It requires a big adjustment in how you think of yourself and how you see yourself, and recognizing some of the pitfalls that you're going to fall into, and some of the patterns that you fall into with, your energy levels. And, I've just started working out, coincidentally, with a guy who trains Derek as well. Derek, you're following me a lot, or maybe I'm following you. I don't know.
You have to start getting tailored suits. Have you seen him lately with them fancy shoes? Montreal? Chic?
Yeah.
It's looking good.
Yeah. No, I'm...
Okay, so you're training?
I'm still the shorts and T-shirt and...
Yeah, me too.
Flip-flops.
I can't wear it like Derek does.
Nah.
There's a reason.
But the working out, etc., and this is all part of me trying to piece this together and live a better life. I want to minimize the bad days, and I want to be able to recover more quickly from the bad days that I know are going to happen, and they are going to happen.
What is it? If you could narrow it down to saying, "Oh, that's what." Like, is it? I know you just said it's not diet and all this stuff, but do you think diet contributes to it? It must. It contributes to the way I feel every day.
It does, but that's not the be-all, end-all. I think a lot of it is, it seems to be so common. Now I work in a very creative field, right? But I find that it tends to really fester in people who have creative minds, who don't give themselves proper sleep because I'm onto something. I got an idea for my business. I'm going to take it here, and I got to do a logo. I got to do a website. Oh my God, I've got an even better website idea. Oh, the logo's not right. I got to redo this. I see. And it's manic is what it is. And you combine that with bad diet, a sedentary lifestyle, and everything just snowballs into, suddenly, geez, I've been sitting on my ass for 10 years, not sleeping right, not eating right, not exercising. It has to be a huge contributor. Contributor to that. But a lot of it too is it's a chemical thing in your brain. But by being more active and by eating better, I certainly am already. I started in October with the workouts. I can't believe the difference in just how I feel every single day. It gives me my best chance to get up and get to work every day. Yeah,
there's definitely something in exercise, and you notice it when you don't have it. Also, things like being outside, fresh air, right? Just being around trees, oxygen, that whole bit. And as you say that, I start to think about it, and the reasons why I've sort of avoided that sort of mental health thing is, as an athlete, you really control the way you think, and if you don't succeed, right? You have to use positive thinking, and you have to get rid of all those negative thoughts. As the thoughts arise, you learn, and through repetition, you get better at it, right? And perhaps that's another thing is, diet, sleep, and then just controlling the way your brain is wandering through life. It's the same for comedy. Like if you're to get on stage and you think, I hope this joke doesn't bomb, but if you go up there and you think, wow, I'm going to kill this, then it's a different outcome when you're on stage, right? So perhaps as an athlete, you've just trained your brain, or I've trained my brain, or athletes, because there are less like the people who are high-end athletes have less likelihood of experiencing mental health while they're in sports? I don't know if that's a thing. Or not.
I don't know. And you certainly were closer to professional sports than I was. I think the benefit that an elite athlete has, or anybody who does athletics, is you're surrounded by coaching all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And there are so many people who go to jobs that aren't in the sports realm, be it an accountant, be it a public servant, be it a radio host, and you don't get that same day-to-day coaching.
That's right.
and inputs and challenges and motivations, and that carrot's not always being dangled to drive you. Athletes too, I think you'd admit this, you're wired a lot differently.
Yeah, I think so.
There's something that pushes you that I can't relate to, that I wish I could find that thing that that pushes me to want to get after that Super Bowl, to get after that that ring, and
yeah, that's exactly true.
It's a really unique thing.
Sure.
I look at the athletes, in Pyeongchang right now, and just that look in their eyes, and wow, if we all went to work every day with that focus, determination, with that focus, and we don't have that benefit. Does it come down to coaching? Does it come down to conditioning? I think that's a big part of it. But I don't think athletes are immune from it either. I think there's probably more of it in professional sports than we're probably aware of.
Yeah, I would think so too. There's a big veil of secrecy in sports, right? And you have to pretend you're a certain way. And I would imagine that there's, as I think about it, there's probably an extreme, because it's either success or failure in sports, right? It's one or the other. And if you're
if you're consistently not winning, how does that affect your psyche?
That's right. Yeah.
For some, it'll drive you to push even harder.
Yeah.
Others are just.
Yeah, it's my fault, and that's what I'm doing, and right, and you just tank for sure.
It's me.
I guess you see that, right? And I guess along the way, that's what happens to people, and you just don't see them anymore, right? Like they give up, they quit, and it's because something just got on top of them, and they don't realize that that's a normal part of life. That's a normal part of succeeding, is the failure, and it is learning to figure out why you failed, and then to move and step on top of that and keep going. I also want to know about, you said when you were a kid, you dreamed of being a radio broadcaster, because that's amazing. Where did that come from? And at what age?
My earliest memories.
Really, that's amazing.
I would wake up in the morning and I would hear Ken the General Grant doing his forward on CFRA, and I remember sitting in my parents' room. They had this beautiful. Dad thought it was a piece of junk and he tossed it out. I cried just thinking about it, because that was the radio I grew up watching. But it was this clock radio that sat on their dresser, and I would sit there watching it every single morning. I was the kid that would sneak a transistor radio into school, and I'd keep it in my desk, and the desks had these little holes in the bottom right-hand corner. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I'd modified a headphone jack that would fit through there and run it up my sleeve, because what was happening on this radio during the day? And I discovered all these voices I hadn't heard before. And then I'd be there at night with, tuning in these AM stations, and I'd be getting, Chicago and New York, and wow, what is all this stuff? And then I discovered FM, and it was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it was just, every course I picked in high school, everything was pushing me. I was going to be in radio.
Yeah.
There was just no question ever in my mind. There was no backup plan. I remember when I had signed the papers to go to Loyalist College to take the radio program. My dad came into my room and he sat down and he says, "Now, are you sure this is what you want to do?"
Yeah.
Because if you want to change your mind, now's the time. Really, Dad? Really? Really? I just wanted to put it out there.
Yeah. So, you have a radio voice, as people say, right?
Lucky.
Is that right?
It's got to be luck.
You don't think it's just from training it?
Well, or is it one of those things in the universe, like pictures flying off the wall?
That's right.
Is it because, I grew up insisting that I was going to be on the radio, that when I got to be a prepubescent teenager, that little switch inside me found the radio voice diode and activated it. It's been refined, it's been finessed, it's been through years of practice, like any instrument. But no, I remember calling University of Ottawa when I was 13 years old, because they were looking for volunteers. I was 13, and I spoke with the program director. His name was Bernard. And he couldn't figure out why this guy with the deep voice was not available to come in during the week and meet with him. And so when I did come waltzing in on a Saturday, And he saw this 13-year-old kid. I mean, you had to pick his jaw up off the ground. So no, it's a blessing.
That's incredible. Since 13, and there's not. I mean, a lot of people in radio don't have a radio voice, right? Like it's a rare thing. I mean.
Yeah, the radio voice, I guess, when people think of it, they sort of, especially, in a male, it's that deep, mellifluous, and it carries itself. But there are a lot of people today. Radio's been radio's come a long way in that. And as I like to say, and I've taught at the program at Algonquin College as well, and I like to think that the quintessential radio voice is not the most important thing. Mm-hmm. It's how effective can you be with the voice that you do have. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
And that's what it boils down to. Yeah. There's a lot of great talent on the air now who don't necessarily have the radio voice, but are phenomenal to listen to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I have my favorites too. And I know exactly what I'm looking for when I'm looking for someone to talk to me on my car radio. Everyone knows what it is that they want, right?
For sure, yeah.
And so from Loyalist, where did it go from there? Just always been in Ottawa?
Mostly Ottawa. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Loyalist was Belleville, but I did weekend mornings at the Easy Listening station there, which is what every 19 and 20-year-old kid wants to do, is get up on a Saturday and Sunday morning and do funeral announcements and play Acker Bilk. Who? Exactly. But no, once I graduated Loyalist, I actually did sales for the stations in Smiths Falls.
Okay.
Which eventually went country. Twice now I've lost my job to country stations. It's the one format I've always wanted to do and never done.
Is that
country.
Right? Why
I love country music.
Really?
And it's just it's skirted around me. So it's the universe trying to tell me something.
Do you know Johnny Reed?
I know of Johnny Reed.
Johnny Reed. Do you know? Okay, I was going to tell you a crazy story that might blow your mind. Johnny Reed was the kicker, the backup kicker on my university football team. Yeah, John Reed.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that unbelievable?
Wow.
Yeah. So here it gets even crazier because he when I was there, I think the year I left, he became maybe the starting punter or something like that. But the years I was there with John Reed, he was the Subway mascot. So this mascot was a giant inflatable, like 15-foot mascot, and he was a great guy. Everyone loved John Reed for sure. And he was the mascot during the game, so he would walk around and high five the kids and all that stuff. And then we were having a bad game. We were losing to a team we shouldn't have. It was halftime. Everybody goes in, and the players who aren't playing, they stand on the sidelines unless they're a giant mascot. They also come in and they experience the team, atmosphere and what the coaches got to say and everything. And here's John Reed. He comes in. And the coach is tearing the strip off of everybody, blah, blah, blah. And he's got this giant inflatable thing on. He has to turn it off because the fan is too loud. Yeah. And so he turns the fan off, and all of a sudden he's this like deflating sub from Subway. And the coach is trying to yell and scream at everybody, and nobody can keep a straight face.
Hell no.
Oh, yeah. So they kick him out of the room. But yeah, what a great and amazing story. And
that's great.
Yeah, he has his own jet. Now he's won the Juno every year since, and he had a similar story. I mean, he was a great singer. I can remember the rookies would come in, and at lunchtime they would have to stand on the table and sing, and everybody was terrible. And here this one day, Johnny Reed gets up and just belts out, I don't even know, some country song, and everything stopped, and oh my goodness, it's unbelievable. And even another time, he was living in Ottawa at a friend of mine, Jimmy Giorgizzo's place, and we went to not open mic, but karaoke night where Yuck Yucks is right now.
Okay.
And the place was jam-packed full of people, and we were standing around waiting, and I kind of forgot that Johnny Reed was a singer, and, he would go to open mic nights and that sort of stuff, and everybody would get up and nobody would pay attention, and then he gets up and he starts belting out some tune, and the whole place just stopped. Like,
all the heads turn. Yep.
Yeah, what a voice that guy has, eh? Hopefully, he's told me he'll be on this podcast in March when he's in town.
Well, he'll be your second mascot then, because I'm your first.
Oh, what were you?
I was the Rough Rider Rooster for 2 seasons.
No, the Rough Rider Rooster. That is a great claim to fame.
I was there for Joanne Polak's last season and for Lonnie Gleiberman's first.
Oh, wow. The Gleibermans.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I was there just at the beginning of that. But that was because I grew up loving football. Like I said, man, Tony Gabriel was... I know you sat at Lansdowne watching games as well. So, I mean, and you and I are a year apart, so we watched a lot of the same guys play. So, when I was able to be the mascot, and I locked into that actually through my sales job that I had in Smiths Falls. One of the sales reps had been assisting the guy who was the mascot. Yeah. She became pregnant and couldn't be on the sidelines. And she said, that'd be a lot of fun for a young guy like you.
Yeah.
And I got there, and he had just taken, the guy who'd been the mascot had just taken a job in Toronto. And he's like, here's the outfit. So I'm suddenly, I'm on a school bus going to a charity event with Glenn Kulka and with Damon Allen, and like, are you kidding me right now?
Right on. Damon Allen said he'll be on the podcast too.
Really?
Yeah. When Henry Burris was on, he was messaging back and forth, and he said anytime.
So Damon had, when he was playing in Ottawa, he and my parents had moved to Centrepoint. He was living 2 doors down.
Damon Allen was?
Damon Allen was 2 doors down.
Oh, what street?
I'm not going there.
Oh, they still live there? I used to live in Centrepoint.
No, is Damon Allen still living in Ottawa?
No, he lives in Toronto.
But he was in Centrepoint.
I used to live on West Point. Do you know that street?
No.
Back's on the big park in Nepean. That's in Centrepoint.
Okay.
Damon Allen was a grandfather when he was the Grey Cup MVP. Yeah, he signed that picture right there behind you. See the cup is ours there?
That's
Damon
awesome.
Allen. Yeah, he was my quarterback when I played in BC.
Now, he would remember me, of course, but
the Rooster. He'll remember the Rooster.
Yeah. Because probably the smell from that costume. That was the worst smelling costume.
Guy. Really?
That was snow pants with fur sewn onto it.
No.
With an official jersey with fur sewn into it, which you then put on top.
Yeah.
With a 27-pound fiberglass head that was held on. It was a construction helmet inside. I was envious of guys in the subway suits because they had a fan. It was a construction helmet inside with a 2x2 glued onto the front and the back of this thing. And it had 2 bolts going through it. And when the guys would come out, as they're being introduced, and they'd smack you on the head.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
That might actually explain a lot.
Yeah, wait a minute. We've just uncovered the truth.
So that was my little claim to fame.
That's awesome.
That's as close as I got to football.
I always enjoyed Damon Allen. His presence in the change room and everywhere. He's just such a funny, relaxed, always seemed like a kid, always having a good time. Yeah. Which is what it's all about. There can be stressful times and stuff. And
I love that about football.
Yeah. Football's great.
The guys just always seem relaxed, and they're always really community focused. And I'm so glad football's back in the city, because I think the city really missed having that kind of a presence. I know the hockey team does its thing, but the football guys, maybe it's because it's less of a spotlight on the CFL than it is on the NHL. But these guys just seem a little more down to earth and a little more willing to get out there and just shake hands and do the everyday things.
Did you see my post? Henry Burris singing karaoke? It's Friday night. He's at the Yuck Yucks. Yeah, you got to check it out, man. It's on my YouTube channel. Yeah, he gets up there. And I'm standing there talking to him and his wife, and my son's there, and we're talking to Yuck Yucks afterwards. And after the late show, it turns into karaoke, and they're setting up karaoke. And he just starts walking over to the karaoke desk, and his wife's like, "Where's he going?" I said, "I think he's signing up for karaoke." He's like, "Does he do that all the time?" She's like, "He's never done it."
Really?
Walks over, puts down his name like everyone else, signs up, Henry Burris, any pop song. Comes back over, and the guy's like, and next up, Henry Burris. And he sang Gold Digger. Yeah, and he ad-libbed. He threw in his own words in there every now and then about playing football and comedy.
See, I can't believe that because I don't know Henry Burris other than, seeing him on the football field, but he strikes me as the kind of guy who would be first in line for any karaoke.
Oh, great guy.
Or anything fun, silly like that.
And the fact that he stuck around after his playing career to live in Ottawa with his family is just a testament. I think it's
We're
a fantastic
so lucky to have a
thing,
guy like that in our community.
I agree, man, without a doubt. And I told him and his wife that, and they were genuinely, oh, thank you. That means a lot.
But how many stories do we have like that? Like, look at the Lone Star Cafe.
Yeah. The Belcher.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of great stories of guys who come to Ottawa to, play football, and I'm sure in hockey too, but they've started businesses, they started families here, they've entrenched themselves into the community.
Yeah. Well, Chris Phillips for sure. I mean, he's from Fort McMurray, right?
But living here
with a great pub and family and everything. Yeah, a great part of the community. Yeah, I love that too. That's great. So I also wanted to get to the point about how you have this passion from a young age to be in broadcasting, and the whole industry is shifting and changing, and you take those skills that you have and you continue to do that in the new format, in the new world. It's an amazing story, right? It's instead of just putting in your application, heading back out to Smith Falls, Cornwall, anywhere, you know what I mean? You said, no, I'm going to create my own.
I put my fair share of applications out there, and I had a couple of conversations. They weren't necessarily the right opportunity. But I just wasn't taking no for an answer. no, you can't do your own radio station. You're not going to make any money at it. But I'm not doing it for the money. I mean, I got to eat, but I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I want to be behind the microphone. I don't care if it's one person listening or if it's 1,000 people listening. What I do it for is that occasional email that comes in that says, you said something that changed my life or affected my life. You made me realize something I didn't realize. That's how I get paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So, but I think I have a privilege in that I do, and I've been very lucky since 1996. I've run an industry website with job postings, industry news. So I've been a bit of an insider, for a good long time, and I've watched the trends in this industry, and I see how things are going. And I always try and sort of stay one step ahead of this kind of stuff. And I was introduced to internet radio back in the Chum days. So back in the Cool FM days, they had an internet radio station operating out of there called 3WB. Mm-hmm. The 3 W's being World Wide Web, so the World Wide Web Broadcasting Company. Wow. And in 95, 96, I was hosting a weekly countdown show heard exclusively on the internet.
95.
Okay,
Wow,
so
that's incredible.
So you would have been using dial-up.
Yeah.
And this was the problem with the whole thing. It was the best idea at exactly the wrong time.
Yeah.
Like, I had just upgraded from a 33.6 to a 56K modem. Mm-hmm. Streaming music, forget about it. Mm-hmm. Impossible. But there it was. Anyway, they ended up, it's now called Iceberg Media. It's been broken into different pieces and stuff in here and there. But in the back of my mind, I always sort of thought, the internet was an option. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at apps on my phone not long after being laid off, and I found one that allowed me to broadcast myself as long as I could figure out how to get audio into the phone.
Yeah.
And when you and I first started talking, when I walked in the room, a lot of the way that you set it up to do is pretty much how I launched blasttheradio.com.
Yeah, it's not easy, right?
Finding the right wires to, and especially this day and age where the phones have a 3-pin and everything else analog is 2-pin.
Yeah.
Well, what does that all mean?
Yeah.
Well, it just means that, things don't link up once you put the adapter inside the sleeve. Things don't necessarily line up. Once I figured that out, I was on the air. Mm-hmm. And now I hear from broadcasters all over going, man, I wish I could do what you're doing. This is so fun. Wow, teach me.
So it's called Blast the Radio. And
blasttheradio.com.
It's a great name. And your nickname is great too, the Milkman.
Yeah.
Is it still the Milkman? It's an obvious one. But
it will always be the Milkman. Actually, they beat the Milkman out of me. When they flipped from Cool to Bob, they didn't want the Milkman. It was too synonymous with cool, so we went with the Milky Show. And it's only been of late that I, sort of realized that there's still some marketing cachet to Milkman. More people recognize Milkman.
It's great.
Still to this day than they did Milky Show.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. When I mentioned to people at work that you were coming on my podcast, that's the first word they said. Oh, the Milkman, right? So I mean,
awesome.
And
that means a lot that people remember that because there was a long gap in between where I didn't use Milkman. Mm-hmm. But I brought it back, and it's always going to stick.
And so it's on every day, weekdays,
Monday to Friday, 9 to 1.
9 to 1. And do you have the same content rules? And
nope.
You're on the internet. It's the world.
Yep.
You just do what you want, which is amazing. And then, so how do you get that physically? How does that?
You log on to blasttheradio.com, and the player will start automatically.
Okay.
Or you download the app.
Oh, on your app, so you can get it on a smartphone.
iTunes or on Google Play. Look for blasttheradio.com, and it's right there.
And do you know that people in businesses are doing that during the day?
Yes.
It's a great.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, that's a big market, right?
People who have discovered it, and it's interesting because the challenge that I had initially was, and I'd be live at craft shows, and people, I love the music. I remember the Milkman. But what channel are you? Well, I'm blasttheradio.com. Yeah. But what channel are you? Because I think there's still a learning curve. We have no trouble understanding that we can turn on a Netflix and watch whatever we want. Yeah. Well, that's streaming TV. But streaming radio seems to be, they can't wrap their head around it because they can't get it in their car. I mean, you can. It's a long, complicated, it's on your phone. As long as you plug it in properly, you can. And you got to use your data. But it's not AM, it's not FM. So what channel are you? How does this exist? I don't understand. But when you talk to people, by and large, the radio stations that they listen to in their car, the AMs and the FMs, once they get into work, they log on and they stream it, either on an app or on the station's website. Well, that part makes us equal players. So, to listen to me is no different than logging on to insert AM or insert FM station's website here. The difference is I don't have a transmitter, therefore I'm not on the public airwaves. Therefore, I don't have Canadian content regulations. I don't have talk restrictions. I can play anything that I want. And I started out playing, I mean, if I could find the dirtiest song I could find, I would play. Now, I'm at a point now where I recognize that there are businesses who have me on. There are people who have me on in the workplace. And I try to be respectful of that whenever I can. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. But yeah, there are a good number of businesses who have fallen in love with us because of the fact that, I'm not carrying 8, 9, 10-minute long commercial islands. It's 1 or 2 commercials and right back to the music again.
How often do you have a commercial on it?
About every 20 minutes.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I try and not do commercial clusters. For me as a listener, I don't mind a commercial. I understand why it's there. Me as a business person, I certainly understand why it's there. But as a radio fan, give me 1 or 2 commercials and then get me right back to the tunes. That's much more palatable to me. So when I take everything that I know about radio out of it and I just sit back and go, okay, let's be the radio fan and design a radio station. How do I want that to sound? That's what I've delivered, and the audience seems to really appreciate that. And I hear it from people. I got in my car last night, and I drove home. I didn't hear a single song. It was commercial after commercial after commercial after commercial. And by the way, weren't you on one of those commercials? Yes, I was. I still do that.
Really? Okay.
But the advantage is really just the amount of music that I can crank out, and I don't need to monetize it the same way that commercial radio.
Yeah, and it's from passion, right? Like you're doing it because of passion, and people are drawn to that. People know, and it's people. Mark Breslin said it on this podcast, and he said
that was a great podcast, by the way.
Oh, good. Oh, thank you.
Oh, I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I took the train just there to do it. It was a wonderful day.
He was really great.
Yeah, he's a great man. I love that guy. Oh, so nice, and everything was come on in. How much time do you need? Let's take it. No, anything you need. It was an unbelievable experience to meet a guy
great
like
conversation
that,
to listen
who's
to.
been through all that and just knows everything. It was a fantastic day for me for sure. And one of the things that he said that struck me was, if you tell the truth, people will line up to listen to you, right? If you're out there and you're getting on stage and you say the truth, there's nowhere that people do that, right? So when you do, people, they're drawn to you, and you getting up, on the radio 9 to 1 every day, and because it's your passion, you're gonna have people drawn to that, right? You're gonna have an audience no matter what.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I think people, certainly do respect the fact that I haven't just packed up and quit and moved on to something else. I still do it every day.
And also open about your mental health struggles and all of that. You're drawn to that.
You can't bullshit an audience. I learned that so early in my career, because the minute you tell a lie, you're inevitably going to meet somebody out on location. They're going to say, "Oh, tell me that story that you said on the radio," and then you're stuck there going, "Oh, what story was that?" If it's based in truth, you can tell that story again.
Yeah. That's right.
So don't get caught up in that. I mean, you can color it a little bit and take it places, But yeah, and I'd get caught in that trap doing even something simple when I was, first sort of learning who is our audience, and we're female targeted, and these are the things that they like. And so I decided one night to, doing overnights on Cool, I would talk about the best-selling books. And this Jackie Collins book is the number one best. My wife reads Jackie Collins all the time. Blah 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 blah. Now, my wife is quite the bookworm, but boy, did I hear about. You told people I like Jack. I would read anything but Jackie. All right, don't bullshit the audience.
Yeah. So you're married? Do you have kids?
I'm married, no kids.
No kids?
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, you wanted kids?
I would have loved to have had kids.
Just weren't in the cards?
Wasn't in the cards.
Awesome. And you've grown this thing, and it's. You have a truck outside with it painted all over, so it's doing fairly well, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen stickers all around town. That's obviously
have you?
Yes. All kinds of places.
New one's coming soon.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that's part of the marketing. How else do you get the message out?
I've relied very, very heavily on social media. I was a very early adopter of Facebook and Twitter. I remember having a conversation with the program director about having Facebook, and are we going to have a station page? No, Facebook's a fad.
Yeah.
But if you want your own page, go ahead. I look at it, for anybody who's in radio now, compared to somebody who, let's say 10, 15 years ago, suddenly the station flips formats and they're out in the street. They didn't have something like a Facebook to be able to still engage with their audience and say, hey, I'm over here now. I did have that advantage. Now, Facebook's changing a lot of the way they do things, and getting a message out through Facebook is becoming more and more of a challenge. So I'm sort of, they're zigging, I'm zagging. You can look forward to a lot of social media content that I'm going to be creating, shareable content, a lot of videos. I want to be more men on the street. I'm at a point now where I don't have to do as many extracurricular things that I have been doing. That I'm lucky now that I can really start focusing on the radio station more and doing simple things like standing outside a movie theater. What do you think of the movie?
Yeah.
But that to me is a great way to introduce people to the radio station, because I don't have the benefit of a TV station. I don't have the benefit of 3 or 4 other stations to promote me and billboards and all that kind of stuff. It's word of mouth, and it's being present in the community, doing exactly the kinds of things that I said I love about the football team.
Yeah, for sure.
Being in people's faces, introducing them. Here's my bumper sticker. Here's how here's how you log on and listen.
Yeah,
and I hope you do.
That's the way of doing it for sure. I've noticed lately, doing a lot of videos myself, that if you put things on YouTube and then put a link on Facebook, 3 people will be exposed to that through their algorithm. What Facebook wants is they want to be the content provider. They want you to post videos straight on there. If I post a video from, say, iMovie to YouTube, and then the link, like I said, 5 people. If I put it from iMovie to Facebook, 2,000 people will see it. It's incredible what they're doing.
Because Facebook knows that you're someone who creates content that is highly engaging and will get a response. And what Facebook wants to do is have that at the top of everybody's feed, because they want to be able to sell an adjacent banner ad to that. Now, the catch-22 for the Facebook people, of course, is, well, the average person who doesn't have highly engaging posts, who just uses it once in a while to say, hey, are the school buses running today? Might get 1 or 2 responses to that. Well, they end up so far down that they've lost interest in Facebook. So who is it that you're hoping is going to see this content? At some point, it's going to be guys like you and me who have engaging, higher engaging posts all the time. So you and I are going to be having a conversation, and the rest of the world is, well, where are they going to be? That's where I'm trying to find out now. Where are they going? I want to be there.
Well, they're still going to observe, right? It's just their posts won't necessarily be seen. That is the issue, though, the algorithms.
The feedback I'm getting from people now, though, is they just want off Facebook.
Yeah.
They're so frustrated with it.
I completely agree. I the time I spend on Facebook, I always leave cringed and going, what a waste of time.
Yes, and I say this all the time to my listeners. If my business wasn't dependent on Facebook to help it develop, I would be off Facebook in a heartbeat.
Do you put things on YouTube at all?
A little bit. A little bit. YouTube is one of those things that I need to grow more and more into. I need to be better at that. Typically, if I've posted on YouTube, it's because Facebook has blocked me from posting videos. Because I stream a video camera from my studio, and the music is copyright, and I'm not supposed to broadcast copyrighted content. Wait, but I pay royalties. Oh, yeah, okay, but we're not set up for people who pay royalties, so we're just going to keep blocking you. So
that's why you get blocked. Okay, I was wondering about that.
So when it's something important that I want to get out, as far as a video is concerned, I will. If I'm blocked, if I'm in Facebook jail, I'll put it on YouTube and then put it on Facebook. But like you said, it might get 1 or 2 reactions on Facebook. It's
so funny too. You're like, oh, nobody likes that. You know
I know.
What I mean? But like this here, like we look at this after, and 400 people have watched it or at least looked at it for part of the time, right?
Jeez, man, you've doubled my audience.
And
awesome.
if I put a link, from YouTube, like 7 people will. So, but then I'll also upload it directly to Facebook, and then another 200 people will watch it. And then there's so many different ways you have to put them all in every different way, right? Like, it's because they don't connect each other anymore.
Yeah, and then for guys like you and me who are tinkering with this internet and the social media thing, for a broadcast, what do we? When we look at the metrics, we're having to pull numbers from so many different places and sort of piece it all together as to what's really the big picture for this thing. Suddenly I'm not such a little broadcaster anymore. Suddenly I'm that guy who's just like, the general manager at any other radio station. I'm piecing together all this data to try and get a real picture for what is it that I'm actually doing here. But you got to be in so many different places with this thing. I'd be all over Instagram with more video content if Instagram allowed longer videos. Like you couldn't put this podcast on Instagram.
No, it's a minute, right? Isn't it only a
Something
minute?
Something like that. Yeah. But could you and do you put like a highlight?
I posted today behind the scenes. So I was going to videotape a little bit here. Of the making of these podcasts, and they're going to be much shorter. And I just posted one today. I posted it with the YouTube link. That's how I will do it.
So that's your TV commercial, essentially.
I'll put it on YouTube, put the link, and then tomorrow I'll post it directly to Facebook. And then if I can get a clip for Instagram that's a minute or whatever, then I'll do that as well. But yeah, it's finding out the tricks. They almost change weekly. Right?
Yes.
The algorithm is just it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
you have to stay right on top of it. And there are people who make that their job. Like if you go on YouTube and say, what's new on YouTube this week or whatever, or on social media, and they'll tell you what they figured out, because there's people who experiment with it nonstop, right? Which is the people that we need.
But then your time is spent watching all the video content that they're putting out there, telling you what you need to be doing for your video content, that you actually have no time to produce your own video content because you're too absorbed in the
it is crazy.
in the hows, the hows and whys of it. So
everything that's designed to make us more efficient is taking us deeper down a rabbit hole in the other direction, for sure.
Yeah. It used to be pretty simple. Everything was sort of cross-posted and it did it on its own. But no, you need to sort of figure out where your audiences move to and join them there, and keep yourself relevant. I'm lucky too. I think in that a lot of what I put out there is information that people are looking for, and I'm a geek when it comes to news and stuff like that, and I know how important it is to there's a beautiful cardinal outside the window right now. Hey, buddy.
Yeah. I ran out of birdseed today. It's terrible. I feed them every day. Little known fact about
the
Mark
male cardinal is
Hatfield.
my favorite.
Isn't he beautiful?
The photographer and me, the fights that I had with the cardinal in our backyard, and I finally got that shot of him for a Christmas card. So
nice.
He's right outside.
The female ones are beautiful too.
They are nice.
It's spectacular. Yeah.
So but it's that trying to figure out where I need to be and what content is going to engage. And luckily, like I said, I'm a news geek. I'm a sports geek. I'm aware enough of stuff that I'm able to populate my feeds with things that are relevant, and I know what my audience is looking for. So. So far so good. But I find a real difference in Facebook, even just in the last couple of months.
Yep, agreed completely. Just you're so limited in what you can, who you reach. It's
so where am I going
changing.
next with this? I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I guess. Yeah, who knows? Google search, figure out. Because there's going to be some new way, like they're going to figure that out. They're going to, if there's
got to be.
If the numbers show that it's declining, then they're going to figure out some algorithm to make them increase, right?
Everything I'm reading about Facebook is people are spending like millions less hours.
Really?
On Facebook. Well, that can't be good.
That's good. Maybe they're spending more time outside breathing air.
You imagine that?
Which would be a great thing for the humanity.
Actually having conversations about politics with people.
Yeah, that is
you
amazing.
Can see.
Anything else we got? I mean, that is an hour. Sorry I've kept you longer. And
listen, I'm here as long as you want me to blather on.
I just want to know what direction the Blast the Radio is headed. Is it like you said? It's going to be more of a visual thing, man on the street.
For me, it is. Just because I'm. This is my home forever. Unless something absolutely ridiculous comes along in the world. I love what I'm doing right now, and I have that creative freedom. And I think, for someone who grew up listening to great radio in the 70s and 80s, and I was the I had the benefit of hearing so many of those, those talented jocks that are, now legendary, and the things stories are made of. That I can carry that on, which I wouldn't be able to necessarily do in a commercial radio capacity for a lot of reasons. Radio does what it does, and it does it very, very well. But it has changed how it does it, and that doesn't necessarily sync up with how I want to be as an on-air performer. So, okay, I've got the luxury of doing this internet thing. I want to get word out there more and more about what I'm doing, obviously. I want to be more engaged and involved in the community now that I've got my mental health a lot more under control than I can afford to put myself out there. I'm more comfortable to put myself out there. My anxiety for a long time prevented me from ever doing a live broadcast, face to face. Like I could be in a studio, no problem, but to stand at a grocery store and do a live on location, no. I'm better at that now.
Yeah,
I'm more comfortable to do that now.
You're very good at this, right?
Well, but it's different with one-on-one. Now, if we were in Yucks with 100 people sitting there having this conversation, my anxiety would be kicking my ass a little bit. I'd still do it because I push myself to
I do want to see Yuck Yucks. I know you got that set. Well, you wrote it, and we're going to work on that.
Never say never.
Yeah.
Again, it's that's a tough thing to do. And I had the benefit too that night in that Yuck Yucks had come to me and said, it was just after Robin Williams passed. Yeah. And they said, with all the work you do in mental health, would you consider doing a night with us. So the room was very friendly to me.
Yeah, that's the best. It'll be friendly too, I guarantee you.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it was my audience.
Yeah.
You know, they came because I was the host of this thing, and there were several. I mean, look, there were a good number of comedians on the bill that night that people did come to see, but by and large, that room was filled with people who were very pro John. So I really couldn't do any wrong that night. I think I did a pretty good set. I look back at it, and of course, I'm always very critical. A lot of F-bombs that I didn't need to put there, and a lot of that is nerves and anxiety. But
did you drink? Were you having a few beers?
No, I've never been a big drinker. I upchucked once before I went on stage that night, and then I had a couple of Jack and Cokes. And I was fine. I think on stage I've got a drink in my hand in a couple of shots there, and that was the second drink that I had that night.
That's what I find.
That's about as far as I can go.
2 drinks makes the perfect person. That's what was it? We had Mike Ward on here, and that's what he said. 2 drinks.
2 drinks.
And I'm the funniest person. There we go. The funniest Mike Ward after 2 drinks. Yeah. This is what we'll do. We'll have Derek Fage do it. You'll come and watch, and you'll feel better, and it'll be great. And then we'll book a time for you to do it.
Oh, I see. You're gonna have my childhood. Okay, now now I see. We've upped the ante. Anything you can do, I can do better. I see.
No.
We're back at the monkey bars at Knoxdale School now. I dare you, man. I dare you.
It's gonna break this. Oh, you pooped your pants. Yeah, smack fist fight it. Yuck. I love it. Well, that's been an hour and 10 minutes, man.
Really, buddy?
Yeah. Thanks a lot.
That goes fast, Mark.
I really appreciate it.
Thanks for what you do. This is a really great podcast, and
you.
I look forward to inviting my audience to tune you in regularly.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's great. And you look great. You look.
I feel good,
you're
man.
doing so well. Yeah,
thanks.
That's awesome.
Appreciate that.
That was great. We'll take a few pictures and
cool.
That'd be great. My kids didn't make a crazy amount of noise when they came in.
I was sitting here listening to my phone in my pocket, going, "John, you dummy! There's always something."
All right, the phones are all right. That's the normal sound of people, right? Ciao for now.
Reminds me of when I can't remember who the artist was, but some touring artist that I was interviewing. I came into the studio and I had just taken up photography, and I thought, what a great opportunity for me to do some photography. And while she played live on the Air Force, I'm taking pictures.